For more on all this and what search crews are facing, let's bring in Dr. Michael Baden, former New York City medical examiner, Fox News contributor. He also worked on the TWA Flight 800 investigation, taught forensic pathology in Singapore. Take us through how important it is to recover the bodies in a timely fashion. We're now a few days past when this crash happened. The water there is very warm. How much do you lose every day that goes by?
Yeah, there are two searches going on right now. One, the long-range search is for the black box and the voice recorder and putting together what happened. But more immediate is the families. Every day that passes that the families don't see their loved one and don't identify the loved one creates lots of pain and lots of potential problems in the media and all for the airline. While the remains are still being discovered, as was said, in TWA 800 off Long Island, the same depth of water, about 120 feet, there were 230 bodies, people on the airplane, of which 100 floated up immediately because the fuselage was separated. And the fact that there are 9 bodies that have come up means that the fuselage
broke apart at some point.
Broke it apart. And in Flight 800, 100 bodies exactly came up, floated up, and 130 were strapped in their seatbelts in the fuselage.
And that takes a lot longer to recover.
But at that depth, scuba divers can go right down and remove the bodies. You see, they don't need all the fancy equipment that was used in the Malaysia flight. And they'll be going down there and removing the bodies. The longer the bodies stay there, the more deteriorated they become from the salt, from decomposition, and from the animal activity in that area.
The fish and those kinds of things. How much does that, one of the key questions in this crash has always been trying to examine what exactly happened with the pilots. We'll have the black boxes. One of the things they're going to want to do is an autopsy on those pilots. How long do they have to recover those bodies before at some point they're not going to learn much from an autopsy?
You're absolutely right. The sooner the better, because one of the things that's happened occasionally in these kind of crashes is that the pilot had a heart attack, for example, or had pre-existing disease that caused him to lose control of the plane, so that the pilots are the first people that the autopsies will be done upon as soon as they're found, to see if there's any medical reason or toxicologic reason. They're going to test for drugs and all that to make sure there was no impairment on any of the pilots. There's no evidence of that, but that has to be established. And the sooner that the pilots are removed, the better. But the sooner everybody, and in a case like this, the bodies, in many areas like New York City, everybody in my day was autopsied, because how do you know there wasn't an explosion and the bodies contained some of the explosive device, the shrapnel and all?
I see what you're saying.
No evidence for that here.
So is that why we're seeing, and we only have a few seconds, but is that why we're seeing them already give some of these bodies back to the families, is because so long as they can identify them, they just don't view it as material evidence?
After external examination, they release the body, and that also makes the other families feel better that work is being done, and the more bodies that are released, the other families know that they're working on them. They've got to make sure they don't make a mistake. Occasionally, remember, the bodies that are going over the hospital are going to be identified by direct visualization. And you can make a mistake in a body as it deteriorates in the direct visuals, and that can become a problem also.
And then oftentimes now, once you have to do DNA testing, that can take even longer.
That's
Dr.
right.
Michael Baden, we really appreciate your time, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.